Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at SheKnowsArsenal and at JustTweets. Welcome, guys. So, on today's show, today's daily download, I'm actually going to veer away from our usual structure of the show and just do a little bit of Q&A for today. It's a slow news day, and so no reason for me to just continue to go over the same stuff over and over again if there's nothing new actually happening. Most of the boys are out there on international duty, the likes of Martinelli and Tomiyasu, Bukayo Saka, they're all out there on international duty. And so they'll be playing games shortly. Transfer window doesn't open until the 10th of June. And we know what we know at the moment. We're looking at Tielemans, we're looking at Gabriel Jesus, we're looking at Hickey, loose links to Zinchenko, some other, I guess outgoings would be like what's going to happen with Pepe. So until we know more about that or something changes, I think it'll be more fun today to use our time together to just have you guys ask questions in the chat box, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Arsenal based. It could be based around other teams or whatever. Totally fine with that. We're just going to do about 45 minutes to an hour of just Q&A, old school. If you guys were at my watching my channel early on, I did a lot of these because I didn't know really what I was doing. I would just kind of pop on and have people like ask questions and I would just answer it. Now we've gotten a little bit more sophisticated out here. We have structures to our shows and, guests and all that kind of stuff. But right now we're going back into time and doing a little bit of Q&A. So if you guys want to go ahead and drop some of your questions in there into the chat box, I will start to answer them. See what you guys are saying. Ray says, Justine, oh. Thank you. Wardy says, hey, Jess, do you expect Arsenal to sign a wide forward? And if so, who would that be? Yeah, the wide forward, I think conversation is really important because, as much as I love Gabriel Jesus, which I do, and I'm like 100% behind that signing, with Nketiah being the backup striker, which it looks like that's what they're going to do. Excuse me. We need something else up there. I would be really disappointed if we didn't go out there and get a wide forward to either, to make up for Pepe maybe leaving, and then also, the left-hand side not really having an experienced attacker there. So I do expect Arsenal to get that done. If they don't, I'd be extremely disappointed considering the attackers that we have at the moment, and just adding Gabriel Jesus to the starting attacking lineup is just not good enough. In terms of who it'll be, I have to be honest, knowing the situation around Nabri and, what he would expect in terms of wages, I can't really see that materializing. I also was listening to one of the most recent Arscasts, and James McNicholas was saying he doesn't see anything that would suggest that that's something that will get done. And so, I don't want to just completely say like it couldn't happen, but I would be very shocked if we saw Serge Gnabry at Arsenal this summer. We've been heavily linked to Cody Gakpo. He's a left-sided attacker that a lot of Arsenal fans really like. Netherlands international, tall, strong, good ball striker, has quite a few goals and assists. He was named I think the best player in the Eredivisie this past season. The issue with that is that I know PSV not PSV, Feyenoord, no, PSV. Let me make sure that's right. I think it is PSV. Let me just make sure. PSV. Yep. PSV don't actually want to sell him. They want him to stay for another year. They probably figured they could get more for him in a year or so when the likes of maybe Liverpool are looking for a new young player or something like that. So they don't actually want to sell him. They want to keep him. And so they're trying to construct some sort of deal where he would get part of the sale if he waited another year or something like that. So for me, it's kind of like I think that one is kind of up in the air at the moment. Um, but he's somebody that we're like reliably linked to. There's also Richarlison, which I've seen more about that lately. Um, I'm mixed on Richarlison. I think he's a good player that works really hard, that is kind of underrated in that way where people don't really look at him as much. And, for a long time, people were saying that it was Dominic Calvert-Lewin that was holding that team up, when in reality, I think it was Richarlison. um, my issue with Richarlison is not so much that I don't like him as a player. I just can't see him at Arsenal for some reason. He just doesn't feel like an Arsenal player. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we should go away from players that feel like Arsenal players. Like Cody Gakpo feels so much like an Arsenal player. The technical level, the fact that it's kind of like a young player that, has a bright future ahead of them. That feels very Arsenal like. But maybe Arsenal need to go in a different direction and get somebody more proven, that's more of a hard worker, that has played in the Premier League before. Maybe that's a reason why we're being linked to him. But Richarlison is also an option in that position. So those are the two most concrete things that I've seen so far. Seeing light links to like Sinistera, but other than that, even Musa Diaby. But I feel like we do need like a strong physical, athletic presence in that front line. And so Richarlison or Cody Gakpo would definitely fit that. If I had to guess who I think it would be, I think we'd actually get Richarlison. I can see us actually signing him. Um, let's see. Arsenio says freestyling to the beat. I can't lie. I kind of like that jam. I kind of like that jam, guys. See, wait, hold on. Kind of vibey, right? So I'm not going to freestyle over it, but I do like that song. That's why I always put it at the beginning, so you get you guys like kind of like in the vibes. You know what I mean? Unknown user says, "What would you rate a window of Longley, Hickey, Tielemans, Fabian, Jesus, and Zaha?" Probably an 8. That's a pretty good window. Because it addresses everything that I feel like we need. So in right now, we're being mostly linked to Gabriel Jesus, Tielemans, and Hickey. That is kind of for me like, is that the guaranteed funds that we have? Like, is that the reason why those are the deals that we're really trying to work on? And anything over that or anything beyond that would be based on sales. I don't know. You know how Arsenal kind of maneuver in the transfer window. It's like, okay, well, these are the players that like they were hell bent on getting a goalkeeper and a center back and a creative midfielder. So we knew we were going to get those players regardless of sales. Um, so I wonder if Gabriel Jesus, Tielemans, and Hickey kind of represent that, and then everything else beyond that depends on who goes. I would say a really disappointing window for me would be one that does not include an experienced attacker that plays on the left-hand side and another central midfielder. I know that we've re-signed El Neni, and I get what the reasoning behind that was, blah, blah, blah. But Arsenal midfield-wise is so weak in terms of in comparison to our contemporaries. And when I think about it, it's like, yeah, our midfield on paper and sometimes in games is probably better than most of the Premier League, but when I'm looking at the teams above us, I'm like, they have like at least 4 midfielders that are like really good quality. And it feels like we kind of don't prioritize the midfield. And I think it should be the number one priority. So for me, if you were to bring in Fabian and Tielemans, which I do think that's a little bit samey, but if you brought them both in, they're both quality, of course. Like, and an experience, forward like Zaha. I think I would prefer, maybe, I don't know, would you guys prefer Zaha or Richarlison? Let me know. I feel like I almost would prefer Richarlison, but that would be a good window. Long lay on like a loan or a free, as a backup to Gabrielle. I think that sorts most of our issues that we have. Let's see. Let's see. Mm, Rich something says, "Hi Jess, what's your reaction to Son not being nominated for the PFA shortlist, even though Kane was?" Um, I mean, is the PFA based on the entire year, or like does it include, like what does it include specifically? Like, is it just the entire season? So, okay, I think that Son probably had a really good end to the season, and that end brought him all the way up until like the Golden Boot, which is really good. But Kane is the golden boy, and so they'll always give him credit for everything that Tottenham, you know, earned or whatever. Everything that they um got this season will be attributed to Kane. He's the poster boy, and so I'm not really surprised that they would have Kane up there over Son. Son has been overlooked for a lot of things over the years. To me, he gets a little bit of the Mane treatment, um, maybe even a little bit worse. And so, yeah, I do think that Son probably should have been nominated, and Kane was nowhere near that great this season. He went through several, goal droughts, and really good player. Didn't have his best season. It's hard to see how he would be nominated over Son, but Son does get the Mane treatment, so that kind of sucks for him. Oh well. Tope says, "Hi Jess, in your honest opinion, do you see Arsenal winning titles and cups with our current managers, owners, board, and technical director?" That's a heavy, heavy question. I do think that it's so hard to like look into the future that far, because I do think that if we were to be fighting for titles, um, that would be far off in the distance, to be honest. But in the short term, what I can say is that, can I see us winning some cups? Yeah. I mean, we won a cup under Mikel Arteta before. We got to, a semifinal in Europe with Arteta. We got into the semifinals of the Carabao Cup this season. So I can see us winning cups. And I think over the last like 7 years or so, we've been a cup team. So I can see us winning cups. Like if you're talking about Champions League and titles, that's something that I is a little bit fuzzier to me and not really something that I can really see right now, because when I look at the teams that are there at the moment and the teams that are coming up and the way that Arsenal tend to maneuver, I'm not sure that I see it as clearly. With Arteta, he's somebody that had a team that was capable of getting into the top four and wasn't able to get them over the line. So he's finished eighth and fifth, and he had a clear run at the top four and couldn't get us over the line. So I think, to even with some additions, I'm not sure that I believe that Arteta's right there to like bring us to a title. He would need to really improve. Um, with the technical director, you guys know how I feel about Adu. Um, I feel like that position is so important for a club that wants to be somewhat self-sustaining. If you want to be a self-sustaining model, or at least be able to sell well and bring in players that are of good quality for a lower fee, you have to have somebody with extensive credentials, really good connections, the ability to really negotiate. And for me, I've just seen a gap between Adu and the top, and so, I don't know about Adu, it remains to be seen. I even think with the window that we had, this past window, everybody said it was a slam dunk. It was the perfect window. But it wasn't until we actually needed to play Tavares and Sambi in crunch time where maybe we were rethinking what we actually thought about those signings. And, Ramsdale and White, Odegaard and Tomiyasu are good signings, but you don't really know how good they'll actually be, because the whole point of buying them was that they were going to be good in the future. So it's not the future yet. So I don't really want to say like, yeah, for sure that was amazing, because if they don't get, and I don't actually predict this, but if they weren't to get that much better beyond what they are right now, how good of a window was this actually? So for me, like, it's very up in the air, because what we're basically saying is that we need to have a Liverpool type um, project. And, for somebody like a team that's self-sustaining, that's trying to compete against oil clubs, clubs with infinite resources, you have to be almost perfect. That's pretty much what happened with Liverpool. They had the perfect manager, the perfect recruitment. Not like 100% perfect, but it worked. Salah, Mane, Firmino, Fabinho, Virgil van Dijk, Allison, Robertson, Wijnaldum when he was there. The recruitment was like pretty much perfect. And so that perfect storm needs to come together with all of those pieces. And they've only won one title with that group, and it was damn near perfect. So the idea that Arsenal, that are working with an inexperienced technical director and an experienced manager, owners that are not very involved, maybe as much as we want, um, it's hard to see where the titles and Champions Leagues will come from, at this current moment. But can I see us winning like an FA Cup here or there? Yeah, I can. Keenan asks where we have been linked with Richarlison. Is there any validity to this? I mean, we were linked to him by Charles Watts. So, I mean, make of that what you will. But yeah, we have been linked. We've spoken to his agents supposedly. So, you know, yeah, take that for what it's worth. Let's see. Um, let's see. Unknown user says Gakpo 36 GNA might be worth a punt. I mean, it kind of is a punt because when you look at, and this is a punt that I probably would do if he would come because I think he's a very good player. Will he need some time? Yes. Do I think we need somebody more experienced? Of course. Like, I'll always choose the experienced option that's good over a Cody Gakpo. But if we have to go with a kid, I want to go with somebody that is a proven goal scorer at some level because I feel like it'll translate in some capacity to the Premier League if things work out. The only issue is that players from the Dutch league are very hit and miss. It's probably about like 50-50 for what works out and what doesn't. I don't know if it's the lack of physicality in the Dutch league, or something, but like it just feels like because they're all very technical, very technically good players. They just maybe it's like the slowness of that league and the lack of physicality, but I think Gakpo is worth a punt if we can't get a more experienced um player in that position. Let's see. Matt G says, "Hey Jess in chat." Hey Matt G. Um, let's see. Let's see. Looking for questions. Romy says, Jess, does our next striker have to be a Champions League winning striker or a top four striker, or are they one and the same? I think primarily our striker needs to be somebody that fits the system that we play and ups the quality in that position. I think we had this conversation yesterday where people were like, we need a name. I don't necessarily feel like we need a name. We need somebody that fits with what we're trying to do and also raises the ceiling of this team. Um, a couple of levels. So, does it need to be a Champions League winning striker? You mean like somebody that's won it before, um, or somebody that's just of that level or a top four striker? I think we're looking for just in general because there are players that I look at that are not on top four teams that could play for top four teams. So, I think in general, what my description of the Arsenal striker needs to be is somebody that fits in the short term, that improves us in the short term and the long term, um, has played at a high level, has scored quite a bit of goals, but more than that, ups the level of that position, and fits into our system. There was a moment in the system or in the season where we're playing really good football. Obviously, it can be improved upon in several positions, but Xhaka and Lacazette were playing in two positions that we knew we needed to upgrade, but we almost got top four with it. Like literally, if Lacazette had not fallen off of a cliff, we probably would have gotten top four with that group. That includes Thomas Partey, Tierney, like all those players. So when I look at it that way, could you pop a Gabriel Jesus in that system and put him in there get extra goals from him, increase technical quality in that position and the experience to get it over the line and maybe get through it? Absolutely. Can you put Tielemans in Xhaka's position and get a little bit more production in that left eight? Probably. So, is it a Champions League winning striker? No, I think it's just somebody that in general ups those levels. Um, and I think Gabriel Jesus would do that, even though I know people are not particularly high on the fact that like he's not physical and tall. So yeah, a top four striker for me, because I think that's about what we can get. And this is not going to be our last transfer window. I also, spent some time kind of thinking about this the other day, and I was like, okay, well, if you get Gabriel Jesus and Tielemans are not at the top, like they're not Chouameni and let's just throw some names out there. Like they're not going to be like Chouameni and Osimhen, those types of signings. We can't get those right now, but these players could potentially allow us to get those in the future. And so maybe your Champions League winning striker comes after this group helps us into Champions League. So that's kind of how I think about it. It's not our last transfer window. Like it feels like the last one, but it's not. Zach 10 Football says, what's more realistic next season, top four in the Premier League or Europa League trophy? Oh, that's a tough one. I think the other day I said it might be easier to do Europa League. Is that what I said? Because it really is. It really could be either. Because the issue with Europa League is that you could be better than the other team and still lose because it's a cup competition, and it also depends on like who's in your group and who do you get drawn against and what teams fall from the top into Europa League. But the quality that was in there this time around, like Frankfurt's and Rangers and stuff, I would expect us to beat them, but I also expect us to be able to beat Villarreal. You know what I mean? I also expect us to be able to beat Olympiacos. So I think Europa League is a difficult one. But if I have to say, like, do I think Arteta is a better cup manager or a better Premier League manager? I think at the moment it might be like 60-40, 60% better at cups, 40% better at the league. Because he's actually won a cup before. So I know he knows how to do it. The Europa League, he got all the way to a semifinal where he in the league, like we were better this season, but we still kind of struggled. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be. I would say Europa League is probably our better bet. Top four with like 6 or 7 teams fighting for it. I just think we're gonna fall short. We could really improve our team. We talked about this yesterday that in the season that Leicester won the league, we came in second. And then the next season we improved upon our goals and our points tally, but finished fifth. And I can definitely see that happening this season. We can improve, but everybody else improves around us. And so just because we improve doesn't mean that everybody else is going to stay still. That's why this season was so important to try to get top four over the line, because if you have Champions League, you can jumpstart your project. Whereas now it's almost like 3 steps forward, maybe a couple steps back, or maybe we just kind of stay in the same spot, even though we're trying really hard to climb up that mountain. So I would say Europa League. Just off of the fact that I've seen Arteta at least get to the semifinals. And if he has more depth and more quality, he should be able to do something, hopefully. You guys can let me know what you guys think in the chat. What do you guys think in the chat? Do you think that it would be Europa League is our best bet or top four? Ray says, Jess, why is Pogba not an option for us? I think he's worth a gamble. Everyone carries a risk. 29 experience on a free, good value, better than Xhaka. Yeah, I mean, from our side, it makes a lot of sense. From his side, does it? He's leaving a team that's underperforming, that's not going to be in Champions League. He's going to want to be in Champions League. And so what do we offer him that Man United can't in terms of wages and experience? Like there's nothing that we can offer him that they can't. And so I think with Pogba, like also his wages are super high. And I feel like that's just not an option for us. Not so much that it wouldn't make sense for us. which in some ways it does, in some ways it doesn't. Um, but I don't see what we offer him. You know what I mean? And so I think Juventus is probably the right move for him at this point in his career. Captain Joker says, Jess, what do you think of Arsene Wenger being our new technical director? I think he'd be amazing. Um, well, what I will say about Arsene is that I think he had good footballing eye, like, he had a good eye for talent, and he knew where to go to find good players for fairly cheap, and he kinda knew how to squad build on a budget, so I can definitely see your thoughts there, but I also think he can be quite stubborn in the way that he thinks about football, and I think he kinda doesn't he's from some of his past statements, I don't think he likes the money that's coming into football, and it's kind of like, he doesn't I don't think he's a big fan. So, from an Arsenal perspective, although I want somebody that can kind of make a lot out of a little and, make a meal out of, like, barely anything. I want somebody that's also willing to pull the trigger on big signings when it's gonna make a difference, and when Arsene was basically our technical director, one of the things that he didn't necessarily do is pull the trigger on big signings when it really mattered, and, I know some people will say, "Well, that was because of Kroenkes and all that kinda stuff." Um, I do think that he was very intertwined with what was going on at that point, so it sounds good on paper, but if I had to get a technical director, I'd go out and get somebody that has done it before and has built a squad from scratch and, has built a winning side. That's what I would go for. And I think it also might be good for Arsenal to hire outside of Arsenal because the idea that we should only be hiring people that have played for the club before or something like that, which feels like something that's important to Josh Kroenke. I don't think you get I don't think we're pulling from the best stock, if that makes sense. Um, let's see. Zach 10 says, can Paqueta play left center mid in our 4-3-3 system? I think he can. I do. I think that he can. Paquetá is so, he's the type of player that because of the way that he plays, he can pretty much play anywhere. He's so I think he's very, very good. So for me, like, I've seen him play left-sided center mid for Lyon. He can also play false nine, he can play left wing, like, he can play all those positions. So yes, he can. The what I'm interested to see is how um if we can up the technical quality of our midfield enough where the physicality aspect doesn't mean as much, because what we've seen is that when we haven't been tip top with our technical with the technical side of our game, we can get overrun by physical teams. So the Crystal Palace game, Brighton game, um, Newcastle game, when we weren't up to the technical level, the physicality really took us out of the game. So Paqueta does have the technical ability and all that kind of stuff. I just wonder how we're going if it's enough. Um, if it would be enough. I think it would be, but I mean, when we talk about like elite technical levels that are so good that you can't be bullied, we're talking about like Man City. Do I think Arsenal have that? I'm not sure. Because you need it all over the pitch. But yes, he can. Um, let's see. Nikhil says, hey, Jess, do you see us going for De Jong? So I just tweeted about this. Sorry, my dog is like trying to get in here. But hold on, let me get her really quick. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. Hi, baby. Hi, boo boo. You're ruining the show. It's okay. It's okay, boo boo. Okay, so about that. I just tweeted about that, the Frankie De Jong thing. And I know that there's reports out there saying that we're interested in him, but I have to be honest, like, when you read the articles, it's heavily based on a quote from Frankie De Jong from like years ago when he said that he would have loved to go to Arsenal and then go to Barcelona, kind of like Overmars did, back in the day. there's nothing concrete or credible about anything that's being said in either of those articles. And, people pick out the headline and then put it out there and then it catches wildfire. I think if he ends up anywhere this summer, he'll end up at Man United. If he leaves Barcelona. So I don't see us going after him. I think we'll stick with Tielemans. So there you go. Tony says early World Cup predictions. It's so early. What I'll predict is that I'll predict the unexpected. I think quite similarly to the way that the Euros panned out, I think teams that we just automatically expect to be the best won't perform as well, and there'll be some dark horses in this competition. I would say like teams that I think will have good tournaments, like or a team that I think will do pretty well is I think maybe Spain. They've been really growing over the last couple of tournaments, and so I think Spain might be a team that people have to look out for because they seem to be getting a lot better. But the likes of we always think, okay, well, Portugal and France because of the team, the players that they have. I'm actually, if I'm going to put money on things, I'll probably put money on teams that people don't think will do particularly well, but probably will because that's how football is. It's so unpredictable. But I think Spain might have a good tournament. That's what I'll say. I follow the United States and Brazil. Those are the two teams that I usually will go for. So those are the teams I'll be cheering for. But for some reason, I just think Spain, they're going to be, they're cooking. I think they're cooking. Let's see. John Dinkelberg says, if we sign Jesus and Richarlison, how do you see Martinelli's development going? Genuinely curious because I don't know. I think he'll stay as a left wing, but he'll be the left wing option behind Richarlison, which or whoever we get to play in that position, which for me is the right thing. With Martinelli and ESR in particular, I think they need to be playing behind players and they need to have less stress upon them. For me, Saka is the only young player that we have at the moment that seems to be able to really carry that stress on him to really perform at this level. And so Martinelli and ESR have had really good seasons, but I want to see both of them behind somebody else. I really think they need to be the players of the cup team or of the Europa League team. If we have not recruited an experienced left winger, I will be very, very disappointed. Because if those young players go through goal droughts again, what do we do? What do we do then? We have the same issue that we had this past season. So I think Martinelli will develop into a really good left winger. At the moment, I don't really see him central. He may be able to get there at some point in his career, but right now I don't really see it. But as a left winger, I think he's so good. And yeah, so that's how I kind of see it going. Let's see. Still looking for questions, guys. Sorry. Romy says, Jess, is it true Arsenal will almost certainly qualify for Champions League no matter what next season due to the team coefficient? I know they changed the rules or whatever, and the Premier League will have 5 spots for Champions League instead of 4 in 2023, 2024. But I think that's, I don't know if you get 5th this season, then you'll be in the Champions League for 2023, 2024, or if you do it in 2023, 2024, you'll be in the Champions League for 2024, 2025. So I'm not quite sure about that, but there will be an extra spot. But by then there'll probably be 7, 8 teams. So there you go. Let's see. Zach says Europa. Zach 10 says, if Arsenal are consistently hovering over 6th and 5th next season, but alongside Man United, do you think the fans slip into their apathetic mood. Um, I mean, there's conversations being had in the Arsenal fan base, like what should our expectations be with, like you guys already asked me, the expectations through the ownership and Arteta and this project. And, you know, Arsenal fans want to see their team playing well, but I also see that there's some Arsenal fans that just want to go to games or watch games, enjoy them, and not think so much about the rest of it, because I think we've been so far away from being competitive that it's almost hard to keep hope alive. And I know that that sounds so like you have to keep hope alive, but I can see some Arsenal fans being a lot less like invested in how much we're winning and just enjoying watching their team play. I mean, if this project doesn't push forward and doesn't bear fruit the way that they've made it seem, then we'll have to start it all over again. And, I'm not quite sure that I believe that Josh Kroenke and the board are really desperate to, like if Arteta were to go, who would they hire after that? Are they going to go out there and get a elite manager? Are they going to do this again? So I do think that there'll be a level of, from some Arsenal fans, some real frustration because of the opportunity that we had this past season to get into the Champions League. But I think there will also be a level of shifting expectations to, well, financially, we're not going to be able to really compete with the likes of Manchester City, Chelsea, Man United, and then, who knows what's going to happen with Spurs and, Liverpool are really well run. And that doesn't even count for the likes of like Newcastle and these other guys. So, maybe this is just who Arsenal is. And if that is how some Arsenal fans feel, then the apathy will set in. Because people are really excited about this project and the future of it. And if it doesn't seem like we're getting, if it's just kind of a Premier League version of Dortmund, I don't think people are really going to be like excited about it, you know. Richard T. Brown says, "Why can't we draw games when we lose? We lose real bad. Why is that?" I've said, it's hard for me to really put a girl. It's hard for me to really pinpoint it because it feels like mentality to me. That's what it feels like. Because it also kind of connects to, if we don't score first, we don't win. I think it's a mentality thing. And maybe it's just, we only have like one or two goals in us most games. So if you don't get the first one, and then you have to score two, maybe you're looking up there at Lacazette and you're like, yeah, we're definitely not getting it. If you were to look up the pitch and you saw Gabo Jesus and let's play Richarlison up there and you went down, you probably would really push for those goals or really believe that you can get them because those players can do it. So I think it's a little bit of mentality and also looking up to the front end of the pitch and saying, those guys probably only have like one goal in them, max two. Now we have to score two. What are we going to do? Hold on. I swear this dog is like throwing up right now. Really? Hold on. Oh my gosh. This show. I'm so sorry, you guys. My dog just had a little situation. So sorry. I'm trying to work. All right. All right. So Henrik says, "Hi Jess, what is better for you, lifting the floor talent wise or lifting the ceiling talent wise? Of course, you would have both, but what is better in your mind?" Lifting the floor, lifting the ceiling. I think at this point we need to lift the ceiling. I think we need players that, regardless to if, like, so say if we have an El Neni out there with a Xhaka in midfield, the players that you look at up top can bridge that gap and can make sure that we don't um um like, I would rather look up there and see like really good players that can make up for the fact that maybe the floor is kind of low on the team that's out there. So I think right now we need ceiling raisers. I think we lifted the floor quite a bit in these past windows, and those players ultimately getting better will raise the floor even more. The likes of Tamiyasu and Ben White, those guys, they will lift the floor even more. Maybe Sambi, if he gets some minutes as well, ESR and Martinelli. And then so now we need the ceiling raisers. Karumi says, "How do you rate our coach this season?" I'd probably give him like a 6.5, 7. I think not getting into Champions League when it was kind of right there and there being some obvious issues, in terms of the tactics during the Spurs match, the tactics during the Brighton match. You know, I think I do look at some of the things that he's done, like the man management of the squad players, things like that, where I can level some of that frustration at him, even though I know that there's some other reasons why we didn't make top four. But yeah, I think ultimately, like, we did see progress and he did fix some of his past faults, but like he did, like, at a very crucial time, he did revert back to type and put Xhaka at left back and left Sambi alone and isolated him in midfield. And, if you beat Brighton that day, you might be in the top four. So yeah, I think I got to give him like a 6.5, 7. I do think that the difference between Spurs and Arsenal was not just the fact that they have Son and Kane, but I also think Conte had um a big deal to do with that. When you look at those players, they look like they truly believed what he was teaching them. Like, they went out there and in the most difficult part of their season, they drew against Liverpool. They like wiped the floor with us and then turned around and beat Burnley. In our most difficult point, like, we beat Leeds, we lost to Spurs, and then we lost to Newcastle. And you can say it's injuries or whatever, but we had a team that was good enough to beat a lot of other teams. So we just didn't have what it took. And I think some of that comes down to the manager. It's weird because, when Arsenal are playing well, they talk about, Arteta so much. But when we're not playing well, it's just the players. It doesn't have anything to do with him. If you've ever played a sport at a decent level, the difference between the coach can be massive. The difference the coach can make can be massive. And so that's why they get paid the big bucks. So yeah, I do think that he has some culpability. We'll see what he's like when he gets some better players. I think after this window, he won't have much excuses, so we'll see where he's actually at. Let's see. Lynn says, "Just these quality players you were talking about cost money, and the ones that we have come in, which you talk about, their ceiling will take longer for them to reach." Well, I mean, it depends. Do you think that Gabriel Jesus and Tielemans are floor raisers, or do you think that they're ceiling raisers? Because I think although they're not elite, they lift the ceiling of this team. They are different. Bella. Get away from there. I think even though, I think that they're not quite in that same category as Ben White, Ramsdale, and Tamiyasu. I think they are a couple of levels above them, but a couple of levels below the Chouameni type signing, that some of them are looking for, or some of you guys are looking for. So I do think that they lift the ceiling, and they would cost us, 25 million for Tielemans, 55 million for Gabriel Jesus. So that's a big chunk of our budget right there. Looking for players that are within 1 year of their contract definitely makes a difference. So in terms of what we pay for them, but like on a normal day, Bella, I'm not even joking with you. Go sleep. Yeah. So on a normal day, if you wanted to buy Tielemans, you'd have to pay maybe 50 million for him. His market value is closer to like 50 or 60. So yeah, we can bring in those players. They are going to cost us a lot of money. I think Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus do that, but that's not enough. That's definitely not enough. Yo-Yo says, Kane and Son finished 7th prior to Conte's arrival without the Italian getting his preseason signings levels. Let's see. Harry says, Richarlison and Jesus are not the Brazilians you would want. Well, which Brazilians would you want? I mean, you can't get Neymar. These are the Brazilians that start for the Brazilian national team. Jesus has kind of fallen away a little bit, but Richarlison starts for Tite. So which ones would you want? If you're talking about the likes of like Anthony, last time I checked, had like 7 goals this season. Maybe that. Let's look. I mean, Vinny is playing for the best team, out there. So you can't get him. But which one do you want? You want Anthony? Anthony for Ajax, which is also in the Eredivisie, has not 8 goals and 4 assists. So he's on paper, he's not even that much better than Gabriel Jesus. He's not better than him anyway. Rafinha, you could maybe say Rafinha, but Rafinha will probably go to like Barcelona. So the idea that those aren't the Brazilians that you would want when they're in the Brazilian national team setup and they play a lot of minutes for them, I think is strange. Which Brazilians do you want? You're not getting Neymar or Vinny Jr. Let's see. Karumi says Miguel Aziz and Omari Hutchinson can't make the first team. I mean, I think they're going to be in the first team this season. Lynn says Tielemans wouldn't. His ceiling's gone down with his poor season. So Tielemans, I feel like environment is very important, and remembering that like the whole of Leicester was bad this past season. It wasn't just Tielemans. They had massive injuries to Ndidi, Vardy, James Justin, Harvey Barnes didn't come back to the end of the season, Fofana, Johnny Evans. I mean, I can go on and on. Like they had massive injury issues. And so when you have a team that's riddled with injuries and then you're playing somebody out of position and your whole entire team fell off a cliff. I mean, they won the FA Cup and they finished 5th last season and they were like down in like 15th before like the very end of the season. So like I get what people are trying to say, like recency bias is always king. And so, but the season prior, when he scored the winning goal for the FA Cup final, I think a lot of Arsenal fans would have been excited to spend 60 million on Yuri Tielemans. It's only recently that people feel that way. And very similarly to Odegaard, who we all really like, this could be like a very good signing for somebody whose stock is a little bit lower, but obviously is very quality. And if he plays anywhere like he did for the last 3 years before this one, he definitely lifts the levels. I don't think what Yuri Tielemans was this season is a representation of who he really is. But that's just my take on it. This is coming from Georgie One Foot, who's a Leicester fan. He says he's played every game for Leicester almost for 3 seasons. He just needs a break. So yeah, there you go. I think it's just so difficult when I see if they had a good season and he was bad, then I'd be like, oh, okay, like maybe he's bad, but just if it was a season prior, y'all would have been chomping at the bit to get Yuri Tielemans at Arsenal. Yo-Yo says this season people question Rams, White, Odie during the business end. Last season people questioned Willian, Party, and Gabrielle. When will Gunners demand more from the manager? I don't know, Yo-Yo. Gotta ask them. I don't know. My patience with Arteta, like I said, runs out this season. I've tried to give him, I don't blame him for the Emery season because Emery left us in like 11th. So there you go. But like 8th, that was really terrible. And I thought he should have been sacked after the Europa League final or semifinal. I thought it was clear then that he might not be the guy for the job. Then we kept him. We got some new players, and I expected at least for him to get into the European places. Maybe that was a little bit lower than what you expected, Yo-Yo. I know you expected top 4, but this next season, that's it. That's it for me. This is the project, the players. You've either re-signed or bought every single one of these guys. He's made big choices, and so he has to live up to them this season. Like if next season he finishes in 6th and we're a couple points behind Manchester United and we stumble at the final hurdle, I'm not going to feel any type of way. But I still think that there was some other issues beyond Arteta that kept us from getting into the top 4. So yeah, for me, it's one more season or he has to go. And I've heard a lot of people say that, not just me. This is definitely the season. She Knows Football says, smash the likes. Please do that for me. Zach 10 Football says, is it possible that these signings like Tielemans become squad players when we want to sign the De Jong level, or do their presence block progressive signings going forward? It depends on if we have Champions League or not. That's the biggest thing. Like, if you're in Champions League, you can have Yuri Tielemans, but also bring in somebody like a De Jong type player, and they will all sit there and smile and be happy to be there because you'll be playing at the top level. There'll be so many games and your team will be really competitive. There's a reason why, the Man City players, they don't look upset that there's like a bunch of them there and they're not getting maybe as many minutes as they originally thought, is because they're very competitive. There's tons of matches to play and they're playing at the highest level. If we continue to be in Europa League, we won't be able to bring in those types of players on top of the Tielemans types of players. Tielemans will become the standard of as high as we can go. So yeah, I think that that's all based upon if we can get into the Champions League or not. Can't have 2 players of that quality in Europa League. As much as I would love that, you're just not going to have it. Yo-Yo says, I'm tired of the signings under Arteta being blamed for the manager failing, especially after seeing him chase out players that helped him get his only semblance of success. No, I mean, I hear that, and I'm not only blaming the players. Like, for me, like, it wasn't, I thought the tactics against Spurs and the tactics against Brighton were so bad, and like, I thought that those were really big reasons. I thought January and Arteta were bigger reasons than anything, because I always said that this team would run out of gas. When we got out of the January window, I said we wouldn't have enough. I thought these kids wouldn't have enough goals in them. So for me, it's not really about the team or like what they did, because I always expected them to really struggle this season. So I do think it's mostly not reinforcing in January. Because when you don't reinforce in January, then Arteta goes into those last couple of games under massive stress without the types of players that he needs, and then he fails because whenever he doesn't have his perfect team, he starts making weird decisions, and he did, and it cost us. So I thought bolstering in January would have been a good way to keep Arteta from Artetaing the end of the season, but he still did it. So I get what you're saying. O'Malley says, is De Jong a world beater? People say Tielemans has been poor, but are living on De Jong's hype from his Ajax days. Tielemans is a really good player, you guys. If we get him, we'll really like him. But De Jong, like I actually love De Jong, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like I don't hype him up. I do think that he's a very high quality player. I think he's just a level below, like, that world class level, that level below, of just like really good players. Um, he's kind of stagnated a little bit at Barcelona, but that's to be expected because that entire club has stagnated and declined a little bit. But we'll see if he goes to Manchester United, we'll see what he's really all about because it'll be the Premier League. It'll be a club that's under massive pressure, and we'll see if he can take it to the next level. But I hype him, but I don't hype him to be a world beater. Let's see. Bez says we need to win the Europa League. That should be the top priority next season. Sorry, success motivates players. And you know what I'll say about, the idea around like what we should focus on. I know Arsenal has been a really bad league team for a very long time, but life is kind of short and I just want to see Arsenal lift silverware. And so, if I had to choose between getting it through the league and getting it through the Europa League, I probably would choose Europa League because you get to lift a trophy, you won silverware. It feels better than we just made the points, if that makes sense. But I would like for Arsenal to just win more things because if we're never going to be like a league title team or, we're never going to get into the Champions League, be like Unai, be like Unai and continue to get trophies for your team because at the end of the day, that's all we really remember, right? We don't remember all the seasons that we finished fourth. We remember the seasons where we won FA Cups and we won the league and things like that. So, I mean, I want Arteta to take the cup seriously this next season because, coming in, if we end up coming in fifth or sixth, if we at least have an FA Cup, or something like that, at least the fans have something to celebrate about. If you finish fifth and just a couple points off fourth, nobody's going to hear you, especially if you bombed out of all the competitions early. De Jong is better than Tielemans. I would prefer De Jong as well, but we're not shopping with De Jong money. We have to go get the more the cheaper option. That's just Arsenal FC. We know that we know the game. We know the game. Lynn says, I think this is the first time for a while we have been playing really to play. We have anything to really play for next season. Leopold says they should not let those teams eliminated from Champions League play Europa. Henrik says Arsenal gets top 4 next season, but win the Europa League. I mean, that would be like a perfect season, for me. Like, I would love that if we won the Europa League. Like, I just want to see us lift silverware. Watching the way that the Roma fans celebrated that Europa Conference League thing, I was like, I want that. And I know it's kind of like a joke and, people will never really consider the Europa League or Europa Conference League like European, like real European competitions or they're not recognized like the Champions League. But the fans don't care. And so I think at this point, like I really would just want to see us win as much as possible, regardless of what it is, because with the way that we're going, like if it doesn't work out, what else do we have to show for it? You know what I mean? Zach 10 says, let's say that the Arteta project fails and the next manager fails. Is KSC looking at a what do we do next scenario, or do they just keep going? I guess my biggest hope is that like I do think that it like something that I think a lot about, and I don't really say that often because I know it doesn't sound great, is that I think the only way we're truly successful and start winning titles again is if we have a change of ownership. I don't think KSC are ever going to get us to where we want to be. Like the way that these teams are spending money and the way that they're run, we're just not run like that. We just don't have that same, we don't run like clockwork, like some of these other clubs. And so I do think that like KSC being willing to spend some, but not willing to like throw money at it to really get us over the line, it will suffer for it. So my biggest hope is that like at some point, like if we were to fail, a couple of times, and the club wasn't worth as much as maybe they want, or we can't get him back into the Champions League, maybe they do consider selling, but I think that that's still far-fetched. I still think it's far-fetched. They would have to get an offer that's over, um, probably what it's worth, because it's still going up in value, even though we're not particularly getting that much better, because of the money that's in the Premier League. But there's a reason why they wanted to get into the Super League, and that's because they couldn't afford not to be in it. And if they're not willing to buy their way into the Champions League by putting, tons of money in, then eventually we will slip into the mid-table and we'll stay there for a long time. And so I think our best hope is either this project really works and it goes boom, and it's like we maybe they just knew something that we don't, or we fail and they sell. Because I don't think KSC are ever gonna do what's required. To be honest. Thunder Road says Chiellini to LAFC. Yes, he is coming to LAFC, which is pretty awesome. Let's see how many games he gets through. Yeah. Lynn says, so do you think just that the comment made by De Jong about rather playing for Arsenal, do you think that was just paper talk? I mean, he did say it, and that was a long time ago, and he probably did mean it, but people are pulling it out now because I think it's like a slow news day kind of thing and they're bored. But that comment that he made years ago has no relevancy to now. And there's no credible links to us based on like us putting in a bid or actually talking to his agent. It's just all kind of conjecture, and it's think pieces like, oh, well, he said he'd want to go to Arsenal, so that's our leg up on Man United if we were to go in for him. But we're not actually in for Frankie de Jong, are we? So it's just paper talk. Like, sometimes you read those articles, you realize there's really nothing to them. Gilfy says, hi, Jess. What do you think Arteta will achieve next season? And do you believe that the squad has improved under Arteta? I think it's mostly changed. I don't think it's necessarily improved that much. I think we like the players more, and those players have the unknown on their side. Like Tomiyasu, Ben White, Ramsdale, Odegaard, those players that we brought in, you know, they have the unknown on their side. Like they could become really, really good players, or maybe they're not. So that gives them kind of the air of being a lot better. But where we finished, the types of metrics that we're putting up, goals, tallies, goals against, we haven't really improved that much. Even though we've improved since like last season, if that makes sense. Like, we've improved our league position, but I think the underlying metrics would say that we have improved in some ways, but we've kind of stayed same-ish. And so a lot of our projection onto look how much we've progressed is based on the fact that we think that these players can become something, and they may or they may not. So I'm not sure that I believe that the squad has like improved. I think the faces have changed and they have the ability to become a lot better, where the old team with the Mustafis and stuff, they were never going to get better. It's all up to Arteta and the recruitment, for us to see if this team is actually going to really improve. And what I really want to see next season is I want to see actual improvement from our players. I want to see them. I want him to coach them up. One thing that I'm not really seeing that much of is like, I don't feel like I see these players necessarily getting better. I think Martinelli has improved, and I think Saka has improved. But other than that, Thomas Partey kind of improved in that position, but he was already a really talented player. Like the likes of El Neni and Xhaka, they've kind of improved, but like, do I really care if they're improving? They're not a part of the long-term vision. So I want to see Ramsdale improve, White improve, Tomiyasu. I want to see those players get better. That's what I really want to see. I don't really know that I'm seeing that coaching up that I feel like I should be seeing. And I think Arteta will finish somewhere between 4th and 6th next season. If the rumors of what kind of players we're bringing in are true. I agree, says CC. I don't know whether it's it's improved either. It's fresh, they're young, but for the money we spent, Arsenal haven't really improved much. And that's this, yeah, I feel like it's harsh to say because we like the players more. Um, and they have the ability or the potential to become something really special. But I don't know that this team was vastly better than the team last season. I think it performed relatively the same. Our high points were a lot higher you know, that period between December and March before we kind of fell off. That was much better than what I've seen from anything that Arteta has done. But it wasn't sustained over the entire season. And there were some real low points that reminded me a lot of the low points from seasons before. So right now it's about the same, but in Project Youth, we're supposed to expect these players to get better, exponentially better, or exponentially better. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Keenan says, I feel like the number 8 midfield positions at Arsenal are really underwhelming. And again, we aren't prioritizing it. Would you rather see 2 forwards and 1 mid or 2 mids and 1 forward? I don't want to have to choose. I don't feel like I should have to choose. I want to see 2 mids and 2 forwards. That's what I want to see. But if I had to choose, I think I would choose 1 forward and 2 mids because I just have this weird thing about our midfield options and how I really do think we don't realize how down bad we actually are in midfield. The options are just not there. They're not really that good. And beyond Thomas Partey, and I'm not counting Odegaard in that because he's more of like an attacking kind of, well, you can count him in there. Odegaard and Thomas Partey are really good. But beyond that, you have a prospect in Sambi and you have 2 guys that probably should have been moved on years ago. So I would like more options in those 8 positions. Like, could you not bring in somebody like Matthias Nunez? He's a very good number 8. Could you not bring in somebody like that? Could you not bring in, Fabian Ruiz? There we've also been linked to like that Decore guy and another young African central defensive midfielder from Lille. I forgot what his name is, but we've been linked with those types of players. And I'm like, please get one of these over the line. Like, we cannot be going into next season with Tielemans, Odegaard, and Thomas Partey, and then the backups are Xhaka and Elneny. I don't think we realize how down bad we actually are. Not when like the likes of Aston Villa could potentially have like Basuma, Boubacar Kamara, Douglas Luiz, McGinn, what's the young guy's name? Jacob Ramsey, Coutinho, Buendia. Those are their options. So if a mid-table team can recognize that midfield is important, then why can't we? I don't really understand that. So I think I would choose 2 mids and 1 forward, reluctantly, just because we need more than 1 forward. But I kind of trust Martinelli and them to get it done more than I do Elneny and Xhaka. So, and Henrik says Arsenal will get some good players this transfer window. You can't expect players moving ASAP. There's a long way from wishing to buy the player to get the player. Patience. Yeah, I'm not really in a rush. I know some people are in a rush. I think we will get Tielemans and Gabriel Jesus and Hickey. I think those players will bring in. It's just a matter of, is that their baseline? Like, is that all they expect to do? And then everything else is based on sales? Because if they go into next season with just those 3, that doesn't really align with, what I think they kind of said, before about what this window would be about. That's another backup left back and 2 starting level players, but you need more than that. Like, we definitely need more than that. So yeah, I'm patient enough because I think those deals will pretty much get done. Let's see. Yo-Yo says, Saka doesn't renew before the World Cup. What do you do? He has to, or else we're in trouble. Or else we're in trouble. If he doesn't renew this summer, we're in trouble because that's probably I need to see you guys in Champions League before I do anything. And yeah. So um he has a good World Cup year. If he has a good World Cup year and he hasn't resigned and then he gets to the summer and he has a year left, he gotta maybe consider, the worst thing ever, which would be to sell. But because you can't let Bukayo Saka walk away for free. But I think he'll sign. Even if he has, this is an unpopular opinion, but I was kind of saying that I think that he'll sign a Grealish type contract or extension where there's a release clause in there. If anybody were to meet it, he could go, but he'll sign a long enough one, and the release clause will be high enough where it protects Arsenal, but also protects himself just in case we don't progress. I can see him doing something like that. Kurumi says, "Give me my perfect six." So six players or perfect number six player. Because the perfect number six to me was Gilberto Silva. Like, he was so special to me. Like, not like he's dead or anything, but he was so special. Like, I just thought, in a two-man midfield, he was always kind of like the Robin to the Batman of Vieira. And so he would be like my perfect type of number six. He wasn't like, he didn't have like no technical ability, but he definitely was right place, right time. Last ditch tackles, supported the center backs, made sure that Vieira had enough support in midfield. Did his job really quietly. So that's my perfect like number six, if that's what you're talking about. But like now, if I had to bring in a perfect number six from the group, that's the options that are out there, I guess I would choose somebody like I guess it's got to be like, I like Thomas Partey in that number six position. I can't lie. I think he's really good in it. Like somebody that we could actually get or somebody that like we can't actually get. Clarify the question a little bit and I'll come back to it. Yeah, I think Saka will renew. I'm not really like that worried about that right now. Saida says, Jess, we need to win the Europa League as a club. We don't have any European pedigree. Just being in it and not winning it just shows that Europa is our level, which most likely is the case. I mean, Europa is our level. I mean, as much as you're not a Champions League team unless you qualify for it. And so we haven't qualified for it. So we're definitely a Europa League team. And they seem pretty happy and content with it. There was a lot of, if if we had told people that we were going to finish in fifth, 2 points off of fourth, and the season would have went like it was, people would have taken it. They would have bit your hand off for it. There's a lot of that coming from the Arsenal like group. So they obviously feel like they're probably a Europa League team as well. So yeah, Europa League is our level, and winning it I think is really difficult just because, not necessarily because of the teams that drop in, but because you're trying to challenge on both fronts. You're trying to fight in the Premier League to try to stay up the table, and you're also trying to fight in a competition that's the opposition is not crap. It's not crap. And so you even saw with like West Ham that they struggled to keep pace because they were on track for top four for a very long time. And they just fell away when they needed to continue to be in the Europa League too. And they didn't have a deep enough squad. So for Arsenal, this whole idea that we should have Aziz and Patino and Amari Hutchinson in Europa League squads and, bring in maybe 2 or 3 players and, but still get rid of a bunch. Like, we need a full squad and we need more quality than what we have right now. Our squad players have been a lot of the reason why we haven't been successful in the Europa League / cups for a while. So they need to address that. But we'll have some of the same issue, because if Arteta can't coach this team unless he has his best possible players, then they either need to provide him with that or get another coach. Because when he gets stretched in the Europa League, or he's stretched at the back end of the season in the Premier League, he still needs to be able to get us over the line. So the Europa League is a very difficult competition to win, but you have to have like the depth, or you have to throw one competition away, like Emery does. He just throws the league away and just focuses in on the Europa. And we can't really do that, can we? We can't do that. Tony says, how hot is Adu's hot seat if camp starts and we don't have signings? I mean, I think the fan base is going to capitulate if we don't have anybody in that first week, but I do think when we start preseason, if we don't have our players, he's going to be in trouble, because I don't care who we're playing in those first 3 matches. We have got to be a lot better than we were last season. A lot of the reason why we were so bad towards the beginning of the season was because we just didn't have anybody. Like, we didn't have our team together. We didn't have, the group. And so I do think that, like, and it was more not, I don't think it was so much that our teams were so bad that they couldn't compete in those games. I think it's Arteta is unwilling to work with, or cannot get anything out of anything but like the group. You know what I mean? So he has to have the core ready to go, at the beginning of the season. He has to have Gabriel Jesus and Tielemans if that's who they want. They need to have Aaron Hickey, but the problem will be is if we need to sell before we buy, which I feel like might be the case in terms of everything beyond the striker and the midfielder and Aaron Hickey may only come after we sell some players. So that's when Pepe goes, and that's when Hector Bellerin and all of them go. That's when we're going to be sitting there starting the first game of the season with Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, and Saka. And I think the fans will be disappointed by that. So not like those players are not good, but it's just not the summer that we feel like maybe we've been promised. So I think by the time we're playing against Sevilla in the Emirates Cup, damn near the whole team needs to be there for sure. So yeah. And yeah, like, and Yo-Yo's also making the point about the World Cup. There's going to be injuries and fatigue and stuff from there. So if they think they're going to roll up with a team with 3 of the squad players being kids, that's a big mistake. They need to fill the team with quality, whether that's free signings, loans. They need to make sure that they're more prepared than they've ever been, because we're very reactionary. We react to the things happening around us instead of being prepared. And that's what messes us up. She Knows Football, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, sorry, I've been so negative in chat lately. Just can't believe they're letting the great Arsenal just become just okay. The way we fall behind, so Spursy, gross. No, I get that. I get that. It's hard to be super like positive when, the way the season ended, even though I know some people are very positive. I know I'm a little bit like in between. Keenan says Fernandinho reminds me of the modern Gilberto Silva. Party is up there with the best in the world. He just has to stay fit. If he can't stay fit, then, what do you do? But when Party is fit, like he's up there. Like, he had such a good like 4-month run there where he was basically unplayable, and we kind of need that from him again. But this is what I'm saying about, like, you need to go get like that Decore guy, or another central defensive midfielder, so that when he goes down, we don't have to see the levels drop. So yeah. Zach says, putting a positive spin on things, we actually spent $50 million on a center back. If we pushed like that for a center forward, it would be an $80 million player. So the setup will try to get back Arteta a lot if he calls for it. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see us splash the cash and like really show some intent and really play the game because like everybody around us is going to improve and they're going to bring in players of a certain quality. And I like the Tielemans deal, I like the Gabriel Jesus deal, but it's just not enough. And so, if I would like for that left winger to be a bigger signing, that would be great. Doesn't have to be Narbry, could be somebody else, but a big signing with a lot of quality, that'd be great. I want to set my expectations realistic, if not low, um, because I don't want to be disappointed because every transfer window is kind of like this, but or it could be a little bit disappointing. So yeah, I just want to set my expectations a little bit lower, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and end it there. I've been on here for like an hour and 20 something minutes. So yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed it beyond my dog being so gross. During the stream, but I really enjoyed talking to you guys. Hopefully there's more news tomorrow, so I'll be back tomorrow to do probably like just a regular daily download where we'll go through the actual like headlines and stuff like that. But I wanted to do a little bit of Q&A. We'll do these sporadically throughout. I'm finally, let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to get Diluted Gooner on. It's been hard to get in contact with him. So yeah, but once I can get him on the show and then me and Sophie set up our show, there'll be more content out there for you guys. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.